Hey guys, it's me, Leviathan, back with another video. Today we'll be playing Kerbal Space Program, which is a game where you build rockets and send them off to faraway places. Today we'll be going to the Mun, and as you can see here, I'm currently constructing the lunar lander. This is going to be a direct ascent mission, which means we are going to use a rocket that sends us all the way down to the Mun and back up, instead of docking like the Apollo did. Now, this lander might look really strange, and that's because it is. I wanted to build a rocket that looked a bit weird, and I decided why not do it now. And of course, the reason there's a gap there is because I'm going to have a rover that is going to be attached there. It's not going to be anything special, it's just going to be a small little rover body with two wheels and two solar panels. The solar panels will come in pretty useful later on, and I'm going to add a small little seat so my Kerbal can sit there and ride the rover. Now, I should be putting the rover inside the body, and these aren't in four-way symmetry. The engines, as you see, are currently going to burn the wheels if you try to ignite them, so I'm going to delete all of but one and then put it into four-way symmetry so we can actually have room to move them around, and then I'm going to put struts so it does not look like a terrible mess, even though it really is. Now, I will say that this craft isn't exactly meant for, well, okay. I would not use this craft if you're going to go to the Mun, because it is way too overpowered. You'll see later, but this craft is really powerful, and it could be used for interplanetary missions, like maybe sending this to Gilly or Ike, which is the moon of Eve and the moon of Duna. So, yeah. Also, this craft wasn't really well, it kind of was, but using the ladders, you can get out easily, but not back inside that easily. And you're gonna see that later on. Yeah, I put the fairing around it, which I know happened a little while ago, but just I kind of missed it. And yeah, as you can see, that little third stage with that engine, that I kind of placed, not this one, but the previous one, I would, if you're going to use this rocket, then I would throw that stage out, because, I mean, we have enough delta to be able to not use that stage. And I'm attaching the SRBs now with little struts so they don't wobble around due to structural instability. I'm also adding those two smaller SRBs so the SRBs will stay clear of the fairing and payload. And I'm just trying to close the ladder here, which, yeah, it's a little bit annoying. And now we're going on to launch. Now you might have noticed that this is pretty, like, not really, I don't really know the word for it. It's a bit bright, and that's because my OBS likes to darken things a lot. And you're going to notice that right around, like, now, that it's just going to get really dark. And that is because, yeah, my recording software likes to darken everything, so I had to put brightness up all the way up, and it still isn't the best. So I'm sorry about that. I did not realize that this would happen, and the SRBs have now separated in that cool little display. And I'm currently raising my apparatus to a safe level, and we are going to start our orbital injection burn, I guess you could call it that. So, pretty much, if you don't know how to get into orbit, then you probably shouldn't be going to the Mun. But, to get to orbit, you want to go and burn prograde at your apparatus, and you need to make sure your apparatus is, in space, or else you won't be able to go into orbit. And now we are setting up our translunar injection. So pretty much what you want to do is you want to burn prograde, and then spin the maneuver node around until you get an encounter, and then just point your ship towards the maneuver node, and then you're going to want to warp to the maneuver node, so then you can go and get to the Mun. Also, the way you physics time warp in space is you hold Alt and then type the time warp buttons, which is slash to stop it, period to go forward, and then comma to go back. And as you see, we now have a trajectory that goes into the Mun's sphere of influence. And if we didn't do anything about this, then we would be slung into interplanetary space. But we're only planning to just go to the Mun, so that'll be no problem. As you see, I'm trying to get pretty close, because the closer you are to a celestial object, then you pretty much don't have to go as fast to be able to get into orbit. You can see I'm currently creating the orbit by burning retrograde, which is the other green one to the right of the protrograde. And I made a maneuver. I'm pointing towards the maneuver node, and now we're just gonna warp to the Mun. So this video might look a little bit janky, and just by that I mean a lot of skips. That's due to my recording software using up a lot of CPU. And we are currently now in the Mun's orbit. Now, I also wouldn't recommend going this fast because the video is sped up quite a lot. You can see the 4 arrows at the top left. Those are in-game warp time, but also for quite a lot of the video, like the building and building the rocket and then launching upward, I had it sped up because this was about an hour of footage that I had to try and condense into something like 30 minutes or less. So now we are going to start our descent pretty soon. I've picked this landing spot because I've landed there before and I know it's a pretty safe area. So we're going to wait until I decide to land the vehicle. And we'll say that it's not Jeb doing it, it's Valentina, because due to my recording software taking up so much CPU usage, my game crashed, and it said my game crashed when I was landing. So Jeb accidentally smashed into the ground using this. So yeah. Now we have gone into a suborbital trajectory over the Mun, and I am currently slowing myself down enough so that we can land. You don't need this Wolfhound stage. You might need something a little bit, something more of like a third stage now that I think about it. You might need one, but I think you could probably do it with the lander that I have. Especially if we remove, well, the rover's not that heavy, I don't know, but. So we are going to land. I'm going to just time warp up a little bit so we can get closer to the ground, and then point retrograde a little bit more. And I'm going to do a decent amount of the descent with the Wolfhound stage, but then I'm going to eject it and use the rest of on my lander stage. And I did just realize that I was going to try to keep this DLC free, but I used the Wolfhound engine. So, and that's in the DLC. So if you want a replacement, you just use the Poodle. It'll do just as fine. I end up crashing it into the surface anyway. The Poodle does use up a little bit more fuel, but it gives a better output in the atmosphere, which really doesn't matter, but it's still fine. And we are now landing. Well, we're getting close. We're about 1,500 meters and counting to the surface. And I'm just slowing my speed down a little bit. I've cut off the engine and separated the Wolfhound stage, and that is going to fall to the Munner surface. I'm going to try and slow myself down a little bit on descent. Flaring up the engine's a bit too late, way too late, but it doesn't matter. We end up having excess amount of fuel on re-entry. I'm going to burn. We only have about 1,500 more, not 1,500. 100 meters left, and we're slowly going down to the surface. And I will say that I probably should have put landing legs on this, because as you're about to see, the wheels are kind of annoying. The craft was swaying a little bit, so I turned SAS off to maybe stop it, but it kind of just put it in the wrong direction. We got a kind of tough landing. So what I did is I applied the brakes. I should apply the brake. Oh, well, yeah, I apply the brakes, and then I turn the brakes all the way up to get the wheels to stop spin, and then I just use the onboard SAS to maneuver the craft right way up. And you might be wondering how I'm going to get the lander off the rover out from under the lander. And I'm going I'm going to do that by decoupling the little docking port thing we have there. I'm using a docking port because it does not shoot you out, I guess. Decouplers kind of apply force to shoot it out, while those don't. So the docking ports don't. So I just used a docking port, and yeah, we are now safely landed on the Mun with our rover deployed. I'm gonna extend a little ladder there, and we are going to have Valentina step out onto the surface of the Mun. Now hopefully she's gonna get on the ladder. Yeah, there was a little bit of trouble trying to get up. So if it was kind of hard to try and re-embark the vessel, but she has now grabbed onto the ladder, and she is now stepping down from the ladder onto the surface. And Valentina has become the first Kerbal to step down on the lunar surface. And hold on, we're getting a call here that there's an anomaly nearby. So thankfully we brought the rover, and we can go and drive it out to see what this anomaly is. And we do have quite a lot of driving to do, so I've sped it up quite a lot. And by that I mean 4 times, like everything else. Just trying to get my bearings, see where the anomaly is, and we should get going. So, since there isn't a whole lot to talk about, I know that I haven't uploaded a lot in a while, and that is because time. I had a lot of time back a year ago, and then I didn't have a whole lot of time, and now I have a decent amount of time, so I'm going to start uploading probably a video a week. So yeah, that is kind of why I haven't uploaded, and I think I've already told you about the video being a little bit jank because of my recording software, and as well as my editing software. My editing software does contribute that a little bit whenever I download that, and that's where the solar panels came in use for recharging the craft. You might have also seen me make a few quick saves. So there's a kind of like save points that you can make, and then you can track back to them. If you're going to go to the Mun, you should definitely use them. I didn't, and I have made a lot of mistakes whenever I didn't do that, and I couldn't revert it. So yeah, I had a lot of trouble trying to start the rover back up. So I just decided to get out the craft and use my Kerbal's EVA pack, which is a jetpack, but the only problem is that the rover has pretty much infinite fuel, while the EVA pack only has a certain amount of motor propellant. And I saw this small little crater over here. There's going to be a lot more Kerbal tumbling in the future. I'm just going to point that out, but yeah, I'm going to take a small surface sample, and we are going to get on the way. We are told that that was not the anomaly that we were looking for. So, I say it should be right up here, and hopefully Valentina does not crash into the wall. And we have gone close enough for a visual of it. So we're just gonna have Valentina land. You might be able to see it at the top right, but you're gonna have Valentina land and reveal the Mun arch. Oh gosh, I just said what it was, but oh well. It's a Mun arch. No one knows how it got here. There's no wind to erode it, nothing like that. We are very confused on how it got here, but there it is. Valentina is now going to fly over to stake our claim and take a small surface sample, and sadly we're going to have to get rid of the small little crater that this crater surface sample, but this Mun arch sample is going to be very valuable to us. Just having Valentina glide over, and now she's going to ascend up using her jetpack. We're going to stop ourselves a little bit so then we don't ram into it or go under it too fast, and just going to approach it steadily. And we have now set foot on the Mun arch. Now Valentina is going to go She's gonna plant the flag, and that we're gonna stake claim. This is our Mun Arch. No one else can have this Mun Arch. And the flag is, of course, for the views, because I did not know what else to name it, and I really didn't care. But we're gonna get rid of all of the nav ball, altitude, timer, all of that, so you can get a nice old look out on the Munner surface. It actually is kind of cool, even though the graphics are not the best. And now, Valentina is going to take her surface sample, and she is now going to go, and she's going to head back to the craft using her jetpack. Now, you might have noticed, while I was on the arch, my monopropellant, and might be able to guess what's going to happen next. But I'm just going to glide off a little bit, and then I'm going to, this is 2 times speed in-game, and the monopropellant has just run out. Yep. Now Valentina goes crashing down on the surface at about 50 meters per second, and yeah, I'm out of monopropellant, which I really should have saw coming, but I didn't, and I'm really glad Valentina survived, or else I wouldn't be able to make this into the video. Then again, most of the video, well, most of the time I spent on this was walking, so I do wonder if I probably could have done a little bit better, but still, it was quite annoying. And Valentina's still tumbling down the surface of the hill, and she should come to a stop quite soon. Of course, the lower gravity of the Mun does not help her stop. Hopefully soon. Should be decently soon, yep. She's coming to a stop, and she's gonna get back up and start the long trek of walking. And there's so much walking that I just cut it out, because 4 times speed wouldn't make it better, and anything really above 4 times speed kind of lagged the thing out. So we come back to Valentina tumbling past the rover, and I'm going to soon, hopefully, swap over to the rover and control the rover, because the rover core, it kind of has its own, it has its own, it can control itself. I can control it, is what I probably should say, and, yeah, I can control the rover, and I'm going to have it go down to Valentina. I'm sorry about that phone. My mom's phone is linked to an iPad, and that iPad's currently in the room. But, yeah, instead of braking, what I'm doing is I'm going back upward. The reason I'm doing that is because whenever I brake, the rover just tumbles, and then due to low gravity, it doesn't stop tumbling, and it usually ends up on the side the Kerbal's supposed to ride in, not on the wheels. So, yeah, I just drive slowly down, brake a little bit, and then, have Valentina walk over, and then get into the seat, and then we're gonna quick save, and then we're gonna have Valentina go back, just checking the quick save actually saved, and then we're gonna go back to our craft. This was quite quick, and by quite quick I mean it was kind of long, but it was way quicker than the entire trek of walking. So yeah, we're about to run out of fuel, and I thought we were gonna run into the craft, so I had to swerve it off, so I would make sure that I didn't hit the craft. Of course, this would have subjected Valentina to more tumbling, but because of her 50 meter per second impact, I know she can survive the 24 meters per second impact. Now, she's just tumbling down, and should come to a stop quite soon. And now she has stopped, and time for walking. Making a small little quick save, and this is kind of what it was like to walk that entire 2.4, I think, kilometer distance. This is, of course, times 8 speed for you. I only did it in times 4, because, well, that's the only thing the game would allow me to do. So, I'm currently you already know I'm walking over to the craft. There isn't really much for me to say here, just traversing the lunar surface. And then I did have a little bit of difficulty getting back in, because, you usually have your RCS pack, which allows you to just float up. Now I have to use the actual ladder, and I tried to kind of grab it, but it wouldn't let me. Now I tried to jump on it, but it didn't work. So I've gone over to the side, and it's gonna, yep, there you go. It has unfast forwarded because this is the attempt where I make it. I've grabbed onto the side of the craft. I am inside the craft, very happy. And now I am going to retract the little ladder, and we are going to get back to Kerbin. So pretty much, we're now going to get back into orbit, which it isn't super hard. The only hard part, as you see, I just jettisoned to the rover thing, but that's not the hard part. The hard part about getting into orbit is knowing the angle you should get into orbit. Like, the angle that you're going to get into orbit to, it's hard to explain, but as you see, the orbit is not perfect. It's good enough, but it isn't the best. So, I warp up and I burn prograde to finish off the orbit. And you can see the little rover there. I guess a little bit of it survived. Now, in order to get back to Kerbin, you're going to want to have burn prograde on the opposite direction of where the Mun's orbiting, which is usually like a white line, and the grayer line is kind of the line where it hasn't moved yet. So you're going to want to burn there because whenever you're exiting it, your velocity from the Mun kind of cancels out. And whenever you put more energy into that, it cancels kind of more of your energy out as you leave the Mun. So currently I'm on a trajectory, and now I'm in orbit of Kerbin. I'm on a trajectory to go only 10,000 feet into the atmosphere, which is really not what you need. You could do it on 30 or 20, but I like to keep it kind of tight. And now comes probably my favorite part of the video. Well, not right now, but soon should come my favorite part of the video, re-entry. It actually looks kind of nice because you don't see anything. And Kerbin's atmosphere, just so you know, starts at 70,000 meters. Probably should have said it earlier, but we are now inside the atmosphere, and I'm going to accelerate to times 4 speed. But it's not there, and then it just kind of lights up. I don't know, I just really liked re-entry, and then you see just the 4 burners. And then the burners run out, it tips forward due to the weight all being the back, and then I jettison the pod, and you just see it race forward because it isn't doing as much drag as my capsule is. It doesn't experiencing as much drag. I'm going to set the parachute height to 50,000, and then you can see that crash into the water below. And jettison the heat shield, and now we really just wait. I probably should have just deployed it at about 1,000, but I didn't want to take any chances. And now you can see the brightness actually kicking in and showing us the water of Kerbin. It doesn't really look like this. This is just because, as I said really early, the video has been brightened for your entertainment. And now we have we now have splashed down at Kerbin. And that is how you mun.